Good morning. Welcome to the forecast discussion for February 20th, 2013. It's currently 8:36 a.m. and it's a bit colder than what it was yesterday. It certainly feels a lot colder with a strong northwesterly wind anywhere from 10 to 20 miles per hour, gusting to 30 miles per hour, even higher in some locations. And our temperatures range from the upper teens to lower 20s over the northern interior, especially around northeastern Pennsylvania, to the upper 20s and lower 30s along the coast. But of course, with those winds, it feels more like the lower teens, mid teens, a few locations, maybe lower 20s where it's not as windy, let's say around eastern Long Island. But other than that, I mean, it is just brutally chilly out there, especially compared to yesterday. The good news is that for the most part, we do have dry conditions with clear skies throughout the entire Philadelphia, New York City metropolitan area. Now, when we take a look at the radar, you can see there's a few flurries here and there. Now, this is basically coming off of the Great Lakes. That's right, your snow shower that you might have today, or really snow flurry, is going to be thanks to Lake Ontario and Lake Erie. Now, notice over at Lake Ontario and Lake Erie, a little something special to my heart here. This snow band dropping down towards Oswego, where I went to college, right around here. If you are a meteorology student or about to be one, and you haven't gone to Oswego, New York, to at least check out the campus, this isn't a plug. No one's paying me to do this, but man, this is the type of weather pattern where I loved being up in Oswego during the winter months. Of course, if you don't like snow, probably not the best place for you. As you can see, these snow bands are going to continue on through the rest of the day as cold air and winds continue to move over the warmer Great Lakes. So again, watch out for a few snow showers here and there. Nothing major, just something to keep an eye on as you move on through the day. Taking a look at the infrared satellite picture, you can see our storm from yesterday has now lifted up into the Canadian Maritimes and through the northern portions of the St. Lawrence River Valley. And you can see that cold air moving through the Great Lakes and heading towards our area. Now, I'm sure many of you have your eyes focused over what's brewing over Oklahoma. This is our next storm, but I'm going to explain to you why this next storm is going to be a rainstorm and not a snowstorm, as some have suggested by just pulling up any old model. First, let's take a look at the water vapor satellite picture. And I think it's going to become clear why this is not a weather pattern right now for a major winter storm. Notice over the Pacific, one disturbance, two disturbances, three. Here's another one, four. The point here is that you have a train of disturbances moving into the west coast, and that means that you have a trough over the west coast. So as far as the subtropical and polar jet stream is concerned, you have a trough, and then a ridge, and then another trough over the northern Atlantic. This means our storm track cuts up towards the Great Lakes, redevelops basically somewhere around the coastal waters of Maine, around the Gulf of Maine, let's say, and lifts up towards the Canadian Maritimes. This is not a weather pattern for winter storms, at least not for the New York City and Philadelphia metropolitan area. It's close, but not exactly there. So as a result, you end up with a lot of frustrated snow fans out there who look at the high latitude blocking developing over the northern Atlantic, screaming it's a negative NAO. What's wrong? Well, what's wrong is the Pacific. And when you have these disturbances trending in like this, what you need is really a split weather pattern where the disturbances come here with our very active subtropical jet stream, but you end up with a nice big ridge here. We don't have that yet. So let's take a look at the latest model guidance using the European model guidance from the Penn State EWOL website. And here we are for this evening, and you can see our nice log jam of upper level lows over the northern Atlantic producing a negative NAO pattern. We have our polar vortex. We have a nice building higher heights over the Arctic. Everything here points to a rather chilly weather pattern for the northern mid-Atlantic, and wouldn't you know it, it is very chilly indeed. Now here's our next storm brewing here, and this is why we are seeing moisture build up in portions of Texas and Oklahoma under a southwesterly and southerly wind. And of course, here we have more disturbances moving in. Now, when we move on through the forecast period, by Thursday, notice where our upper level is already starting to go into a negative tilt here. Now, here we have our building heights kind of balancing out these two upper level lows. this has to happen because we have to have mass displacement. It's a scientific term here. So basically, we're dealing with chilly weather conditions over the northern mid-Atlantic, upper 30s to lower 40s for highs. Not really all that impressive as far as the cold air in place, but still, pretty much where we should be for this time of year. Now here we are on Friday night. Notice our upper level low lifts up into the western Great Lakes. Important point here. The strongest lifting is focused over the interior, over the St. Lawrence River Valley, over the Great Lakes, not towards the coast. So look for a warm front to approach on Friday evening, producing some snow showers, maybe some light accumulating snow, especially for your higher elevations. This really isn't a major precipitation event because all your forcing, all your lifting is focused back here in the Ohio River Valley and the Great Lakes, and not really over the Northeast. Notice also from the Mid-Atlantic up towards the St. Lawrence River Valley, you have this ridge axis, and that usually means sinking air. So I'm not really all that impressed with the potential for a warm front, warm air advection snow threat here. I think there's a lot of sinking air aloft here, and I think what we end up with is pretty much scattered snow showers. Now, by the time we get into Saturday night into Sunday, you see everyone points out, hey, look, there's a low pressure system developing along the coast. Yes, but all your lifting is focused over the St. Lawrence River Valley. All your cold air, by the way, is also focused over the St. Lawrence River Valley and also over the Great Lakes. Meanwhile, you have warm air surging northward. Now, when you have model agreement from every model, this isn't just one European model, guys, I happen to like. This is every model is saying the same thing. That's usually very strong agreement, especially 96 hours out. And it's hard to argue with it when physically you're looking at the weather pattern and you're saying to yourself, this has to be right. And this makes the most sense here as far as the way this is all laid out. Also notice that your primary low pressure system, the strongest low pressure system, is really focused over the interior, over the Great Lakes, and you see that 850 millibars. Notice the winds are coming in from the southeast here. Your 850 millibar low is over the Great Lakes. This is a warm weather pattern. It means rain, ladies and gentlemen, not snow. Yes, even for you guys in the northern interior. For elevation above 1,000 feet, watch out for some rain and snow here with this type of setup. On Sunday, the low pressure system jumps towards, where else? The Gulf of Maine. So yes, you see a rather impressive winter storm for, let's say, Maine, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, maybe even Vermont, maybe even Rhode Island. But I think this misses the brunt of, as far as most of Connecticut, maybe Eastern Connecticut gets clipped here. Certainly the New York City and Philadelphia metropolitan area misses out because what you have here is a low pressure system that cuts up towards the Great Lakes. Yes, it's blocked because of the lower heights over the northern Atlantic, but the redevelopment is towards the Gulf of Maine, not towards the mid-Atlantic coast, and so you end up with a primary low taking over around the Gulf of Maine with a nice heavy snowstorm over the New England, but not for the northern mid-Atlantic. Now the next weather pattern gets a little bit more interesting here. We continue with our negative NAO theme here. And once again, another low pressure system cutting up towards the Great Lakes. And so you're thinking to yourself on Tuesday, another threat for showers and rain, which you're absolutely correct about that. But look at what happens towards the long range here. And this is where it gets really interesting. We have plenty of high latitude blocking, but we also start building a ridge. So then by the end of the forecast period, by the time we get to March 1st, and my premium members know I've been saying keep an eye on the last few days of February and the first few days of March, because I think that's when we start transitioning to our spring weather pattern. We start to see the weather pattern change. And when weather patterns change, that's when you start to see storms. And lo and behold, look what we have here. Now we have several days to watch how this all evolves. But when I see this type of signature here, this type of high latitude blocking, this strong upper level low, pretty close to 50 north and 50 west. Not exact, but pretty close out there for this far out. Keep an eye on this storm, because if this phases with this, then by the time we get to the second day of March or late March 1st, this storm might actually end up being much closer to the coast with a much better phase here than what you see here with the separation. The reason why I say that is that this right here should slow everything down. You have a very strong positive very strong ridge over the west. This is a type of weather pattern that I look for a major winter storm here. So keep an eye on March 1st. I think that's going to be a very interesting time period, depending on how all these disturbances interact. I don't like the idea of this just exiting out into the Atlantic with this upper level low here and this disturbance here. Something is brewing around March 1st. Interesting times are ahead. Well, that is your forecast discussion for today. Of course, I'm your meteorologist, Stephen D. Martino. You can follow the latest weather information at nynjpaweather.com and nynjpaweather on Twitter and Facebook. Have a wonderful day. Stay safe out there and stay warm.